Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome to the full flight tutorial on the iFLY 747, a tutorial that is long overdue. I think I meant to do this a long time ago and never really got around to it. For those of you who are saying, why aren't you doing it with the PMDG 747? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, I don't have it. It's $135 for P3D, and I simply don't have the money for that right now. Number two, the procedures are going to be the same. The iFLY 747 is actually pretty darn good. Now, I know a lot of you are going to start getting into this argument with, oh, PMDG is better, all this. Listen, I'm not having a debate about it. I'm just telling you, the iFLY is a pretty darn good aircraft. And so, and the systems are pretty well simulated in here. I'm sure it's probably not quite to the depth of the PMDG, but I honestly don't know since I don't have it. Some of you may know. And I do hope to get that eventually, but ultimately the procedures are going to be the same. So, good thing there. But anyway, Carl B over at Mac Air has specifically requested this tutorial. We do have we have two new threads in the videos section, Cap Mac videos section over there at Mac Air. One is for requesting flights, and one is for requesting tutorials. And so if you're a member of Mac Air, please hop on over into the forums, go down to where it shows Captain Mac videos, and you'll find those two threads in there, and feel free to post your requests. Make sure you read what I put, everything that I put in the initiation of those threads so that you understand what is and is not allowed and what restrictions there are and so on. Anyway, all of that being said, our flight today is going to take us from... oh, let's see, where are we going? I have to look at it now. ZUUU to VHHH. So we're flying around China, and it should be a good time. So looking forward to this. Obviously, this is a full flight tutorial, so I sort of making this like a disclaimer now. Please understand that a full flight tutorial does not encompass every aspect of the capabilities that are built into this aircraft by whoever created it. In this case, iFLY. If it was PMDG, you know, you get some of you are probably saying, oh, they simulate more and so on. It doesn't matter. The point is, okay, a full flight tutorial is about taking the aircraft from a cold and dark state up through the flight back to a cold and dark state. That's what a full flight tutorial is. It's to teach you the basics you need to know to be able to fly this aircraft. It does not go in depth into how all the systems work or how to do emergency procedures. It doesn't cover any of that stuff. This is about flying the airplane, but doing it sort of by the book, right? So we're following our checklist, we're following our procedures. We're not just jumping in there and hitting Control-E or some craziness like that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So without further ado, let's get started. And the first place we need to go in order to kick things off with our iFLY 747 is our configuration manager. Now, it is very important that you take care of all of this before you start your simulator. Okay? Before you start your simulator. Now, as a matter of practice, the first thing I do is I actually highlight the aircraft that I'm working on, right, or the one that I'm going to be flying. All right, so just go over to my fleet and highlight it, and then I come over and I do my payload and so on, right? And now, there's no cargo variant on here, right? So layout, they're all seats, 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 and more seats, right? No cargo variant. So that'd be one thing I'd really like to see iFLY add to this is a cargo variant, because I've got my Millennium cargo aircraft back here with windows all the way down the sides and stuff, and that's just not how it's typically done, right? So, iFLY, please make a cargo variant. That'd be fantastic. Anyway, moving on. Take care of your load here. Basically, what I do is I take my flight plan, and I've got it up over here, and I take whatever my cargo load is supposed to be and my PAX load or whatever, depending on how I set up the flight plan. And I look at my planned zero fuel weight, and I try to get it pretty close here, right? So, let me show you what I got here. Let's move this over here and move this over here. And if we look here, we can see our zero fuel weight right now, and I sent all this already, so it's not going to change. So it's going to be higher, but it is what it is. That's fine. Okay, so it's got our zero fuel weight at 521,142 pounds. Well, you can see my planned zero fuel weight is 488,623 pounds. Well, you'll note that I did add some extra fuel to account for that in the actual aircraft. But what I can do is I can just make simple adjustments by either adding passengers or adding cargo up or down, right? So in this case, if I bring these down to, say, 70% each, okay, now that puts our zero fuel weight at 514,833. Still too high, right? So we'd bring it down a little bit more. And I usually just bring them down 5% at a time, see where that leaves me. See, still 508,000 and so on. So you make your adjustments until you get your zero fuel weight where you want it. If you're going to be picky about it. If you're not picky about it, just leave it at random, whatever. It's not going to be a problem. This isn't going to make any adjustments to what we got going right now because, again, you need to do this before you start the flight. Before you even start up your flight simulator, you need to do this and click update, and then it sends it into the aircraft. It may update it after the fact, but I'm not messing with it anymore. So then you come over here and you do your fuel, and our release fuel is 48,583 pounds. You can see that I added some fuel to that because I was expecting a little bit higher weight anyway. So 51,000 pounds of fuel, and you can just highlight that and type it right in there, and then you're good to go. And then once you've taken care of those things, you click update, and then you can exit out of here, and you're awesome. You're all set. So we'll exit out of there. That's taken care of. And then we start up our flight simulator, and we're ready to hop into our aircraft. So we hop onto the flight deck, and let's get started taking a look at our checklists. All right, first thing we want to do, we're going to hop on up to the overhead panel here. We're going to need to get power on the aircraft, right? And we don't want to run it on battery too long. We don't want to burn up a bunch of fuel using the APU. So we're going to get power on the aircraft, and then we're going to try and get ground power going as quickly as possible. So step one, obviously, is to turn on the battery. Left click the cover, it pops right up. It'll close itself like it just did. Once again, left click it. Left click on the battery itself, and there you go. And you see nothing's coming on the aircraft. That's because the standby power needs to go to auto, and that's this knob right here. So give that a right click to auto, and all of a sudden you've got power coming on the aircraft. Now we want all our bus tie switches to go to auto. That's these four here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we want our generator control switches all in the on position. That's the next four down, 2, 3, and 4. And then below that is the hydraulic demand pump switches. 1 through 3, 1, 2, and 3 need to be off, and 4 needs to go to the auxiliary position, so left click that. And then your engine hydraulic pump selectors all need to be in the on position, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then that takes us to external power. But if you look here, there's nothing lit up on external power, right? So we need to hop down here to our FMC, go to our simulation, and I haven't done this in a little while, but next page, ground support, and then we want ground power, and you see it's disconnected right now. That's what's selected. We want to connect it. Now that's selected. We'll just leave that on that page for a minute. Jump back up here, and now you can just barely see. That's one thing I kind of oh, I hate when that moves like that. That's one thing I kind of dislike about this is the lights are really hard to see. I mean, you can see them, but it might be even harder when you're looking on a YouTube screen. But there you go, it shows available. So we click on both of those, and now we're on external power. And that's what we want because we don't want to burn out our battery, and we don't want to burn up our fuel using the APU, right? So external power switches 1 and 2 both on. That's now been taken care of. And then panel lights. If we need panel lights, we can turn those on now, but we don't need any panel lights. But here's your floodlights right here. All right, so let's see, off position. Come on. You can scroll it with the wheel, but it doesn't seem like, I guess they're all the way on right now, but you can't see them. Yeah, it looks like they're already all the way up, but that's your, oh, that's the aisle stand panel floodlights down below, that's why. But either way, so if you need lights, here's lighting over here. So this is your circuit breaker light, that's already on. These are all on except the dome light here. We can turn the dome light on, but you're not going to really see anything because it's daytime out. So turn on your lights as needed. I do have the cockpit tooltips on. That's both for me, for when I forget things, and also to help you guys out a little bit. Little cough coming up. There we go. All right, moving on. So we don't need any internal lights right now. Electric engine control switches need to be normal and saved. And now somebody mentioned in a comment, oh, you don't need to cover those because they don't do anything. They do something in this aircraft. It was for a different airplane, but in this plane they do something. We don't touch them. We don't mess with them because I'm just not messing with them. Utility left and right power switches both need to come on. That's these two here. So 1 and 2 both on. And then on lights, we need to have nav lights on and wing lights on. So if we come down here, left click nav, left click wing. We don't need the logo lights on because it's daytime. If it was nighttime though, we'd want to put the logo lights on. Excuse me. Now we want to arm the emergency light. And that bad boy is probably right in front of my face, but I just lost track of it. Where's the emergency light? Isn't it down here? So for those of you who are used to my tutorials, this happens occasionally where I go, but it's actually all the way up top. Sometimes I get a little lost. There's a lot going on, and I'm trying to remember 5 steps ahead so that I don't get stumbled around like that. But anyway, here's your emergency lights up here. If the guard's closed, it's going to be armed already, so I wouldn't mess with it. And that takes us to our IRS alignment. So they're in the off position, then you switch them to the nav position, then the align position, right? So right click twice to nav, and then you're going to left click once to align. Now here's the little kicker. So depending on what checklist you're following and where you get your information from, it's going to tell you to go down to your FMC ident page to do the alignment. Well, if we go down here, and I'll just show you, go to the FMC and go to position initialization, there's nothing there. And the reason there's nothing there is because they have to go back to the nav mode. I don't know why, but they can be aligned in nav mode. So right click them once, back to nav. I have found though, if you don't go nav, align, nav, sometimes it doesn't work. So send them back over to align and then back over to the nav position, and then there you see it right there, and it's your standard Boeing alignment procedure. Hit next page, grab this FMC position right here to put it in the scratch pad, and then click this button to put it right there, and you're good to go. Alright, what's next? We're gonna have to hop back up top here, still on the overhead. There's always a lot going on in the overhead. All the fuel pumps need to be off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the others are all, those are overrides and cross feeds, and then center pumps. We don't need any of those right now, so we're good. Fuel cross feed, it says all 4 switches need to be on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the reason that I didn't click on these is because they're already on. If I click on it, now it's off, right? Nope, there we go. Yep, I clicked it off. There we go. All right. Now they're on. Sorry, I thought they were on. They weren't. Now they're on. Nacelle anti-ice, that's this guy right here. That needs to be off. And wing anti-ice needs to be off as well, and that's right there with it. Window heat needs to be enabled. That's these 2 switches here. And then yaw dampers need to be on. We hop up over the top here. Here's your yaw dampers. So a little bouncing around on this panel actually. Now it tells us to start the APU switch here, but we're not going to do that because we're going to be spending a little bit more time here, and I don't want to burn the fuel. But APU is right over here, so you would right click this twice to the start position, and then once it's fully up and running, APU Gen 1 and 2 will show the available lights, and then you can switch to APU power. We're not going to do that yet. We'll do that in a little while. Passenger temperature needs to be auto, so we're hopping back over to this side now. Passenger temperature on auto and flight deck temperature on auto as well. Trim air needs to come on. That's this one. Upper and lower recirculation fans need to come on. That's these 2 here. Gasper needs to come on. Somebody explained in one of the comments, I'll try and find it and pop it up here. They explained what the Gasper is, or the Gasper system. So if I can remember to find that comment, I'll pop it up right here so you can see that. Pack switches 1 through 3 all need to be normal. That's these 3 down here. Right click each of them one time. That puts them in the normal position. Left and right isolation switches need to be open. That's the 2 in between these pack switches here. And then APU bleed, it says to turn it on. We can flip it on. It's not going to make any difference right now because the APU is not running. And then that's going to take us into the programming of the FMC. Alrighty, let's hop down here and take a look at our FMC. Most of you are probably already somewhat familiar with the Boeing style of flight management computer. For those of you that are not, it's pretty straightforward. It's not all that difficult unless you've never messed with it. Of course, if you've never messed with it, then it's absolutely ridiculous, right? Either way, here we go. We've already taken care of our position initialization. You saw how to do that. Now we need to take care of getting our flight plan into the FMC. So we click on the route button here, and we've put in a company route. But if I just click on it on this particular aircraft, it does nothing. So what I need to do is I need to actually type it out. So it is ZUU to VHHH, almost forgot there for a second, and then mine will have the designator 01 on it, or it should. If we type that in and put it in company route right here, not in database, well, that's fantastic. I wonder if I gave it a different name. Let me double check. Well, you know what, it doesn't matter. We're going to put the route in. It's actually a very short route, so we'll just put it in the old-fashioned way. But typically what happens, folks, is if you have a company route saved, and I do, I don't know why it didn't pop up, you would type it in down here, whatever the name of it is, click on company route, and then it'll give you the option to pull it up. That's not working for me, so I must have put it in the wrong place or done something wrong there. But either way, we'll do it the old-fashioned way because it's a short route, and it's good for you to learn anyway. So our origin is ZUU. We'll click right here, and then we're going to VHHH. Put that one in right here. We'll put 2336 as the flight number, even though that's not the flight number. We are flying a Mac Air flight on this one, but I'm going to put that in anyway. And then the runway is going to be, I'm not even going to put the runway. We're just going to activate that. execute, and then we can go to performance initialization. We still need to put in our waypoints, but we're going to do that in a little bit. All right, so performance initialization. If you, let's see, my brain just went completely blank. Click on the 0 fuel weight. That takes care of your gross weight. This is saying there's 383,000 pounds of fuel in here. That is absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Hold on a second. Where is my configurator tool? There we go. And now it's telling me the aircraft's overweight. Okay, let me organize this. Actually, I can do it right here in front of you. Okay, so we wanted 488,000 pounds 0 fuel weight, right? So we're definitely over on there. So let's just bring these down to 55. Because I remember we messed around with it, went down to 60, and that wasn't enough. And you can just highlight them and type them in there too. This is just quicker for me. Okay, and that puts us at what? 0 fuel weight 495. That's still a little high. Bring them down a couple each. And I just try to keep them even. 493 is going to be good enough for me. And then on fuel, see it changed the fuel to a full load. That's interesting. Anyway, so fuel, we wanted 48,583. We're going to go with 51,000. That's the captain's extra fuel there. And that puts our 0 fuel weight 493, gross weight 544. Let's update it. Done. And if you saw, the numbers changed back here. I don't know if you saw that, but the numbers changed. All right, now we'll exit out of that. I don't know why it did that. I guess, obviously, you don't have to do it before you start the flight simulator. So, lesson learned for us all there. I was certain you had to. But either way, it doesn't matter. Point is, we've got it updated now. We've got the proper 0 fuel weight, the proper fuel in there and all that. As far as our reserves go, we're looking at, it says 12,134. I'm going to put us at 10. I don't know if we're fighting a headwind the whole way or not, but we're going to find out. And then our cost index, you guessed it, is going to be 85. Cruise altitude's flight level 390 today. Put that one up here. And we'll go over to our thrust limit. We're pretty heavy, actually, so we're going to leave it on full thrust. And hop over to the takeoff page. Flaps are going to be flaps 5, I believe. Yeah, we'll do flaps 5 takeoff. That's invalid. It's 1, 5, 10. Why is that invalid? Maybe you have to do a minimum of flaps 10. Maybe it has to do with the weight. Maybe the aircraft knows. That's working at 10. So, and we haven't done our departure yet. But here's the thing: we're not actually flying a SID on this one. We're going to be flying direct out of here. So I don't really need a departure, but I do want to put my runway in there. And I want to do this before I put my V speeds in, because it's just I have to update them anyway. Now, in the real world, there's runway 2 left and 2 right, 20 left and 20 right. However, in P3D, still FSX, right? Just a much better version of it now. There's only one runway. So I don't care which one you pick. It's not going to matter. We're taking runway 2. So hopefully 2 left is the correct runway. So we'll execute that. And matter of fact, let me look at something over here real quick. If I look at my charts, and you guys will see this when we do the taxi brief anyway. But it looks like 2 left should be the runway that exists right now in the simulator. So we should be good to go on that. So runway 2 left, we're good. Go back to route, back to the takeoff page, and then we can verify our V speeds. 122, 134, 152, and then center of gravity. Click it once, and you get it 22%, 4.7 on the trim. But we still haven't put in our legs yet. So let's click on our legs page, and you can see there are no active route legs. Our flight plan is very simple today. It's not very long, and I had a hard time getting PFPX to even put a flight plan together. So we're going direct to GZY, direct to SJG, and direct to GYA. It's as simple as that. So we're just going to type those 3 in there, starting with GZY. Put it right there. That's leg 1. And then SJG is the next one. Yes, there it is, JG. Go to there, and you can see these aren't very far away either. I mean, the total flight distance is 680 nautical miles. So, and then GYA, bam. Okay, so on this one, it's that's a VOR, and our VOR is 116.50. Makes it easy to grab it. So that's the one we want, and that's it. Execute those. Now we will have an arrival. Departure, so you hit departure arrival and you still get departures for ZUUU. Click on index, arrivals over here, and now I have to double check which arrival we're going to use. Where are you at? There it is. It's the Betty 2A. So Betty 2A, that's the arrival we're going to use. And we're going to be taking ILS for runway 7 right. And the wind should be good for that. We'll execute those, go back to our legs page, and then you can see. So from GYA, we've got a discontinuity between there and Betty, and we'll take care of that in a little bit. We're not going to do that right now. And that takes care of the initialization of the FMC, which means we're actually just about ready to get fired up here. There's still a little bit of work to do, and we're going to take care of that here in just a minute. Alright, so continuing on with our checklist here, we want to come up here and set our IFUS mode on the main panel to map, which it already is. Let me get this, I don't know why it likes to jump like that when I start doing it. Look, it did it again. Stop it! Anyway, we've already got that set up. I got the yoke out of the way there. IFUS range, it says set it to 40 nautical miles or as required. We're going to leave it as is for now. Ground control, we don't need to request any ATC or IFR clearance or anything like that because we're not using ATC. At the rate we're going, we're probably never going to use ATC. So now we want to move over. We want to set our squawk code. That's going to be down here. So let's scroll this bad boy on over. Am I losing my mind here? Where's the squawk code going? Should be right here, right? Oh, I think I just went absolutely stupid on myself. No, it's right in front of my face. I'm like sitting here staring at this thing going, where do I put in this? It's right here. Right here. This great big freaking panel that's got the... Oh, just don't even mind me, guys. Just ignore me. Pretend I'm not here. 2336 because that's what we always do. And if you don't like it, too bad. Oh, my goodness. What a nightmare. Well, it wasn't a complete nightmare, but... I don't know if there's a spot on here that tells us to test the TCAS. It just, oh yeah, it does. It's coming up here in a minute. So anyway, I'll shut up about it. Moving back up over here to the main panel, we want to set the altimeter to the actual atmospheric pressure, which for us is 3006 at the moment. That's this one over here. And if you can't see, so if you look right here, we're at 3001, right? So we want to take that up to 3006. One more, come on. There we go, 3006. So that's the pressure outside. Let's see. Flight directors need to be on both sides. Come on, 1 and 2. V2 needs to be set into the speed setting right here. And what did we say our V2 was? If we pop, you can click on these to pop them up, by the way. To get back, there's a couple ways. You can go to the index page, click initial reference, and click index, and then you can go to takeoff page. And it's 152. Or you can just click route and cycle back through. So anyway, 152 is where we want to be on here. There we go, 152. LNAV and VNAV both need to be armed. Sometimes the LNAV won't arm depending on where you're going after immediately after takeoff. First altitude into the autopilot. So for us, I think it's just straight on up. I don't think there. Well, we're not doing a departure, so there's no restrictions. So straight on up to 390. So let's make sure we get that in there. You can actually just hold down the right button instead of scrolling it. It's much quicker. It's easier too. Nope, not 4,000. It moves quick though, doesn't it? There we go. 390. There we go. Autopilot disengage bar needs to be up. That's this one right here. Fuel control switches need to be in the cutoff position. That's these 4 switches down here. All need to be in the down or cutoff position. Trim settings, it says check that they're the same as the FMC, but the trim shouldn't move until we have power on the aircraft and hydraulics. So we're not going to mess with that right now. Auto brake needs to be set to RTO. That's this one. Roll it down to RTO. TCAS switch need to go to test, and you're going to roll it left to test it. And you can see the test taking place up here, and then it'll tell us when the test is complete.
TCAS system test OK.
There we go. And then it says to send it to TARA all the way over, and then it tells us to set it to tilt above or the TCAS biasing mode, but we don't actually have that switch on here. It's one of those things that for whatever reason they didn't model it. So no smoking and seatbelt signs both need to go in the auto position. You can right click each of those for that. Flight deck door needs to be locked, which it is. That's this button right here. Traffic button on the IFUS. You're supposed to press that and look for any potential traffic, which is this button right here. There's not going to be any traffic because I don't have any AI traffic going in P3D. Now there is the default AI traffic, but it's retarded, and So yeah, but eventually we'll figure out how to get some AI traffic in there, and that'll look a little bit better. Let's see, press and check the fuel on the ICUS. So we check this guy right here, and that's going to pop it up down here, and there you go. Total fuel is 51,000 pounds, 51,100, and then there's how it's broken down. It's even across the tanks, which is nice. Fuel pumps all can go on at this point, and they're all on already. They turned themselves on. I didn't turn them on, which means they turned themselves on. I don't know why they turned themselves on. I didn't know they could turn themselves on, but they have done so. Crossfeed. So if tank 2 is greater than tank 1, crossfeed 1 on. If tank 3 is greater than tank 4, crossfeed 2 on. We don't need any crossfeeds on, and it looks like it turned the crossfeeds off automatically as well. So not sure what caused that to happen, but it happened, so I'm not messing with it. And that's going to actually take care of all of our power procedures, with one exception. We don't have the APU running yet. So let's hop up here and let's fire up the APU. Right click it twice to the start position. And that's it. It's starting up. So if you want to see what's going on, I believe it's under the status page. Click on status, and I'll pop this up for you. And there you can see the APU spinning up right there. So once she's fully up and running, then we can switch to APU power, and that'll take us into our engine start and pushback procedure, which of course is where all the fun really begins. So I'm going to let that APU finish spinning up and break away here. And once it's up and running, we're on APU power, we'll come back and we'll start taking care of our engine startup and pushback procedures. Alright, with all of that work done, we're ready for our push and start. Taking a look at our checklist here. First thing we want to do is make sure that the gangway is disabled. There's nothing for us to do on that. Doors are closed. To double check and make sure our doors are closed, pop this guy up. Now I do like when you pop this up, it automatically puts everything on here. Right, so we can just click on our doors here, and this will tell us if any of our doors are open. So they're all closed right now, so we're good on that. Let's throw that back down there. Let's throw it onto APU power. I haven't actually done that yet. We're still on external power. So go ahead and select APU on both of these. That's done. And then external power highlights to available. We don't need that anymore. So we'll go down here, go to our simulator, go next page, ground support, ground power, and disconnect, because we don't need it anymore. So that's fantastic. Done there. Let's see, engine startup and pushback clearance request. We're good on that. We don't need to request it. Beacon needs to come on. That's up top. Now I think some people say, oh, it's lower when you're doing this, it's both when you're doing. I don't know. I just put it on both. I leave it on both. That's fine. Okay, hydraulic demand pump switches 1 through 3 need to go to auto, 1, 2, and 3. And number 4 stays in the auxiliary position. We need to make sure it stays there. Pack 1 is on, but packs 2 and 3 both need to go off. There we go. Engine bleed air switches, all 4 need to come on. That's these 4 down here. There we go. And then we open the engine page on the ICUS. That's this guy down here. Click on engine. Bam. There we go. And clear any messages. So hit recall real quick. It shows that auto start is off, which we should be taking care of that here in a second. But anyway, cancel those out. And then it tells us to push, turn the parking brake off. Okay, so we're ready for the actual push and start procedure itself now. So we've got everything else set up. I'm surprised auto throttle isn't armed yet. That keeps bugging me, but I'm sure that's somewhere else. Yeah, auto throttle gets armed right in the ready to take off checklist. Okay, moving on. So let's go ahead and let's take care of our pushback. So our runway, if I remember correctly, is right up there. So I don't know that we really need to push back, do we? Let's just push straight back for simplicity, because obviously I have issues with pushbacks. So we'll just go with the Shift P. Let's release the parking brake real quick. That's way down here. There we go. Parking brake is off. Our A-cars should be running now. Let's just double check that. And it is. A-cars is running. That's fantastic. And we'll hit Shift P. And we're just going to push straight back. And now we'll go into our actual engine start procedure. And we're going to use the auto start function. So we want to make sure the auto start is on. That's up top here. Let me give you a proper view so you can see the whole thing. So you want to make sure auto start is on and continuous ignition is on. Okay. Fuel control switches 1 through 4 all need to be put in the run position. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Why are we doing this? Oh, the throttles all jump forward for some reason. You see that? I wonder what is going on here. Stop. Oh my goodness. Okay. I know exactly what just happened there, and it's really annoying. For some reason, it keeps mapping a button on my throttle quadrant to change the view, and I hate it. It's driving me insane. But anyway, moving on. That's far enough on the pushback. And we'll just push Shift P, and let's go ahead and put the parking brake back on. Fantastic. Okay. So engine 1 and 4 are going to be started first. So this is an auto start procedure. It's very simple. We're going to hop up top here. You're going to click on 1 and 4 at the same time, and then you're not going to do anything else. You're just going to sit here and stare at it, because it's a flight simulator. So what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do except stare at it, right? We don't have any failures built in or anything like that right now, so we're just going to wait. You can see they're spooling up now, coming up nice and quick. I mean, literally, this is all we do. We sit here and wait. It's fun, right? Good times. Everybody loves flight sim. Did my altimeter change? Not really. Tiny bit. Now you can see that the start switches have clicked off now, which means that the engines are running. We're just waiting for them to stabilize, which they're stabilized at this point. So then you come back up top and you click on 2 and 3, and you do the same thing. You sit here and you stare at them. Isn't this fun, guys? Everybody loves doing this. I'll take the advantage of the time to turn the page on my checklist. Now there is a way to do this without using auto start, and if you're interested in learning that, look at the manual. I mean, it's not hard. I just, yeah, you know, it's one or the other, right? You either do an auto start or you don't. So once we have both of these engines up and running, this is 2 and 3 obviously starting right now. Once they're stabilized, then we're going to move on with our checklist, and that'll basically move us down almost to our taxi checklist. Almost. We'll see. Almost stabilized now. Now you see you got the hydraulic pressure. You probably can't read that, can you? It says hydraulic pressure on number 4. That's because number 4 is on auxiliary. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, engines are stabilized at this point, so the APU needs to come off. Jump up top here. Left click it once to turn it off. And you can see that all the lights went off there. The APU generator lights went off. APU bleed air can come off. There we go. Packs all go to normal, so 2 and 3 can come back on. Hydraulic demand pump switch 4 goes to auto, so right click it twice to the auto position. Engine and wing anti-ice on if it's under 10 degrees Celsius. It's not, so we don't need to worry about any anti-ice on this one. Main display check for warnings, so that's down here. We're looking for any warnings. We can even hit the recall switch here, which we're going to hit 1,000 times anyway. Nothing popping up on there. Taxi lights can come on, which is up top here. That's this switch right over here. Taxi lights are on. Flaps need to be selected as they are in the FMC. So we want to set our flaps to 10, right? And it's going to show, well, I forgot. I had to map a button to this because my lever on my throttle won't work for it for some reason. But anyway, so it shows us 10 there. They'll take a little while to travel. They're pretty slow. And then that completes our pushback. So that's our push and start procedure. That's been completed. And that takes us into our taxi checklist, which is very straightforward. You request your taxi clearance, which we don't need to worry about today. We note whatever taxiways, which we're going to do when we do our little taxi briefing here shortly. And if needed, ground guidance, we don't. And then we want to do our flight control check. And flight control check is done. We'll pop this up for you. It's done through the status page. Right, let me move this here. Click on status, or I think that stands for status. You can see the APU is just about done spooling back down there. And this is all your flight controls right here. So we can go full left, full right, and neutral, and then all the way up, all the way down, and neutral, and then rudder, full left, full right, and neutral. We'll put this back on the engines page for now, shrink it back down there, and that takes care of our taxi checklist. No, actually it doesn't quite yet. There's a handoff to ground, from ground to tower. We don't need to worry about that. Actually, this is all stuff when you're getting ready to line up. Landing lights, strobe lights, transponder, all of that. So we'll be taking care of all that in a minute. I need to get track IR on and all that stuff like I normally do, so I'm going to pause the video here. When I come back, we'll taxi out, we'll take care of our taxi brief, and we'll get ready to get this bird in the air. Alright, then we're ready to get going here. We need to take care of a taxi brief, obviously. I got my track IR up and running. Little jump here. Maybe. Oh, there it is. It couldn't seem to decide. We got taxi light on, right? Did we turn taxi light on? We did. We turned taxi light on. We're going to pull straight on ahead here. Brake is off. We'll leave that continuous ignition on for those of you who are looking at that saying, what's going on? It's there for a reason. Let's get this thing moving. Come on. Come on. Maybe it'll go. She's heavy, huh? Is it that heavy? I don't think it's that heavy. I guess it is. It's starting to move now. There we go. Let's get somewhere. Alright. You can see, obviously, I sit way back from the dash because I have long legs. That's what it is. Really long legs. Some of you are going, yeah, right. Alright, let's take care of this taxi brief. It's pretty straightforward, although I have to kind of modify it a little bit. I'll try to remember to do that because I haven't actually recorded it yet, for those of you who still don't realize how that works. But we're going to take care of the taxi brief, and hopefully I'll remember to modify it a little since we actually only have one runway in P3D. Quick little side note right before this brief kicks off. The Garmin 1000, the G1000 that surrounds this brief, yeah, that's just a picture, guys. It's an editing trick. It's not an app that goes into the flight sim. So I get that question asked a lot. It doesn't bother me that you guys asked the question. I get it. You guys want to know. But it's not a real thing, guys. Okay? So, just a heads up. What is with the, oh, for crying out loud. Take care of that in a minute. Taxi brief coming up. Alright, it'll be real quick on the taxi brief here. Make a note that the default scenery for ZUUU in P3D does not have runway 2 right, 20 left. So this does not exist for us right now. However, we do happen to be parked right down here in this area, so when we push back, we're gonna, or actually down over here a little bit more, but we push back and we'll taxi down over this way on, looks like Bravo. Maybe it's Alpha. It looks like Alpha. It's kind of hard to see, actually. It's Alpha. So we'll taxi down on Alpha all the way down to Alpha 1, and then we'll hold short of runway 2. It's 2 left on here, but it's just 2 for us. HOTAS for departures on 128.6. Chengdu, I think is how you say it. Chengdu delivery on 121.6. Ground for us is 121.85, and tower for us is 123.0. Alright, obviously we're holding short of the runway at this point. For the life of me, I cannot seem to... Isn't there a hidden toga switch in here somewhere? Because if I remember correctly, my toga button on my yoke doesn't work on this thing. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I could have sworn it was right here. But you can see I'm getting nothing, which is very frustrating. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's go ahead and take care of our ready for takeoff procedures and checklists and all that good stuff. Landing lights need to come on. That's these guys right up here. Bam. Runway turn-off lights need to come on. Strobe lights, which is this one way over here. Beacon lights are already on. We're good on that. Transponder needs to go on. That's already on, right? It's on TAR. Didn't we already set it to that? Yes, we did. And then it says taxi into position and hold. So track higher coming on. Little jump. There it is. And the whole taxi route was like, well, not the route, just taxiing over was actually a bit of a pain. It was kind of weird. Come on, you old beast, let's go. Oh, yeah, it's moving slow, isn't it? But then once it gets going, it goes.
0, 2.
It's just getting her moving that's a bit of a pain. It's a narrow runway too, isn't it? Don't you love default China scenery? Beautiful. Little asymmetric thrust to help us around a corner here. We're probably going to need it. I think we've got plenty of runway to work with, but try and get her in here nice and tight anyway. Love how the shadows move across the flight deck there. That's the way it should be. A lot of things I really like about P3D version 4. I'll tell you what I dislike the most about it though. That I have to rebuy a lot of airplanes. I think that's ridiculous.
On
I really
runway
do.
0, 2.
Come on, line up, baby. Oh, stop with that reverse crud. You hear that, right? It's the random engine number 2 going into reverse thrust randomly. And I have no idea why it's doing that. And don't tell me it's my FSU IPC. I've checked everything. Anyway, let me grab my checklist here. It's annoying is what it is. That's what it is. It's annoying. Okay. Parking brake set. We're not going to do that. Auto throttle is on. I actually already did the auto throttle because I didn't want to wait. Autopilot settings. Check those. Those are good to go. I've got my checklist in front of my face. It's messing with track IR. See that? Whoop, whoop. Let's see, toga button, and then V1, rotate, V2. Okay, so, what does it say? Isn't there a toggle button on the yoke too? There is, but that's autopilot there, right? Yeah, that's autopilot. Where's toga at on this? I know there should be one on there. I don't know. Doesn't say. Okay, enough messing around. Just gonna bring those throttles up a little bit. Start rolling. Hey look, toga just worked. Fantastic. I believe I turned down the engine sound on P3D. Because last time I did a video in P3D, like, you could barely hear me over the engines. It was ridiculous. So I turned the engine down. It should be at like 50% now, so that should be good.
V1. Rotate.
Rotate. Positive rate of climb, gear coming up. And an immediate right turn.
Gear up.
We are not going to climb that fast. Like, that's just insane. You see how high that flight director wants us to go? We're already at like 20 degrees nose up. Well, not quite 20 degrees at this point, but you get where I'm coming from. It's going to take one of those flap settings out. Move that range out just a little bit so we can see better. Looking really good. I like to hand fly it, at least for a little bit. I'm not saying I'm very good at it, but I like to do it. Why do you want me to level out right there? That's ridiculous. We got a long turn to go yet before we get where we need to be. See, that flight director's not making sense. Insufficient fuel. Ah, please tell me we're not burning extra fuel again. I never did figure out what that was. Let's put the autopilot on here. I'm not sure what it's got going on though. Probably... What's it doing here? LNAV went off. There's the problem. Why is the LNAV off? Oh, for crying out loud. Track IR coming off. If it isn't one problem, it's always another, isn't it, guys? For goodness sakes, what's the problem here? I don't understand what's going on with this thing. Where's my LNAV? Okay. Oh, that's so obnoxious. Just... It won't arm LNAV right now because there's no intercept course. I have to be on an... Okay. Really, like, just when you're doing a video and stupid stuff happens, it's obnoxious. The LNAV was armed when we departed, wasn't it? Yes, it was. So why did it turn off? Friggin' ridiculous. Anyway, you have to be on an intercept course in order to get the LNAV to arm, right? So it disarmed itself for whatever reason. So now I need to use the... come on, brain function. Now I need to use the heading mode, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal, right? But I need to use the heading mode in order to, now it wants to go over. You know what? Just do your thing. Do your thing. Okay, we're on an intercept course now. LNAV will arm. There we go. Now it'll fly LNAV. Really obnoxious, but it is what it is, right? There's nothing I can do about it. I have no idea why it did that. We're over 10,000 feet. We still don't have landing lights off. Big surprise there. Okay. Can we take care of our after takeoff stuff now? That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. Thanks. Let's get that last setting of flaps up. Just, like, why are we always on insufficient fuel? Okay, I already lowered it. Shut up. I already lowered it to 6,000 pounds, right? I already lowered it to 6,000 pounds. Now it's telling us we're going to have 5.5 left. How are we burning so much fuel? Initially it said we were going to have... for the love of my sanity. Why is it burning more fuel? I get it, there's a headwind. I know somebody's going to say, you're flying into headwind. Really? It's going to burn an extra 15,000 pounds of fuel for this headwind? It's crazy. Frustration. Okay, I'm done with my rant. Anyway, so it's going to keep telling us insufficient fuel. I'll change it in a little bit. I know you can just change the thing, but I just want to wait and see what it's going to do. I want to see if the wind's going to shift around, what's going to happen, because, you know, I just don't want it to say it again. That's going to just get annoying and keep saying that over and over. Okay, let's take care of our climb checklist here. Landing and taxi lights are off. Autopilot is set. TCAS, we leave it as is. We don't need to do a handoff. We're not doing ATC. Engine wing anti-ice, we leave it as is for now. When we get above 18,000, we'll set standard on the altimeters, and the continuous ignition can go off at this point, because there's no reason to have it on while we're climbing. Right? There we go. Okay. I don't think we're burning more fuel than we're supposed to. We're at 41,000 pounds. We burned 10,000 pounds. That doesn't seem over the top, considering, right? Our fuel flow is going to be high right now, 10.9, because we're still climbing. You can see that the wind is starting to shift around behind us, so I don't know why this is still on that page, but anyway, so hopefully what we'll see is, it's going to decrease at first. I can tell you that right now, it's going to decrease. And it's going to decrease because we're going to need more thrust to catch up with that tailwind. That's what's going to happen. But it should come back around. So I don't know. As long as we don't run out of fuel, I guess I don't really care. Set standard. You got to do them both individually. Set, cross-checked. All right, folks. That means it's time for that obligatory elevator music. And keep in mind, it's a little different when we're doing P3D. Alright, taking a look at our arrival briefing here. Now, there really wasn't an arrival for the direction we're coming from and the runway we're landing on. And so we didn't even have one planned, but since we didn't have a departure, I kind of wanted to put an arrival in there. So I grabbed this one, and then it turned out that there's just, most of this is just kind of useless to us because it takes you way down south here. We're coming from this direction over here. And so it just kind of became a bit of a pain in the butt. But we're going to make use of this anyway, and I'll tell you how I've altered it. Starting out, ATIS is on 128.2, and the airport elevation is at 28 feet. Now, it is the Betty 2 Alpha arrival. We're going to be on runway 7 right. We do need to note that the maximum speed of 250 knots below 10,000, I mean, that's just a given anyway. I don't know anywhere where it's really allowed otherwise. So what we've done here is we're not using Baker. We were originally using Betty and Mango. We got rid of both of those. Those are gone. I've built custom waypoints from Guava down here, and another custom waypoint from off of that one out over here. So what's going to happen is we're going to come down and hang a left here on our first custom waypoint, then another left here down to Guava, around to SoCo or whatever that is, and then I got rid of Limes, made another custom waypoint out here, and one more over here that attaches us to our approach. So basically this arrival is for the most part useless, but hey, what the heck, we gotta have an arrival briefing in there, right? We won't be worried about any holds, and most of this information here relates to Betty and Mango, and we're not going to be using those, so it's a non-issue at this point. So that's pretty much your modified arrival briefing. Alright, we're just inside 40 miles from top of descent here. We're ready to take care of our descent approach checklist. It's actually not really an approach checklist, it's descent, because we'll have an initial approach and then an approach checklist. But anyway, descent preparation says start 30 nautical miles. We've already started, we started a little bit early here, that's alright. I always do it that way. Pull up your airport information. We've already done that. The wind is, the meta information is like the airport altitude, all that stuff, basically sea level. But we also pulled up the HOTAS, which the wind is 100 degrees at 11 knots, altimeter 29991. We need to set auto brakes. I don't think we need auto brakes on this one, to be honest with you. I mean, this is like, yeah, I don't even think we need them. We've got 12,000 feet of runway to work with. I don't think we're going to need auto brakes. I think we'll be just fine. And then set up your star, which we've already done that. And you may remember from the arrival briefing, we made quite a few changes. That's what all these custom waypoints are. We changed that up, and that put our fuel remaining back where it was supposed to be as well. So that was part of the reason we were getting the insufficient fuel warning. We do want to reset our MCP altitude here, so we're going to scroll this down, and we're not worried about altitude restrictions on the arrival because we've altered it substantially. However, I'm just popping up my approach chart over here real quick. We need to enter the approach at 2,000 feet. So we're going to bring this down to 2,000 feet. I was going to say 3, but no, we're going to do 2. So let's scroll this down to 2,000 feet. Do it the easy way by just holding the button down. Alright, there we are, 2,000 feet. What else we need to take care of? Start a descent. That'll happen automatically. We're going to leave it on VNAV, and it's going to start descending on its own. And other than that, that's it until we get to our initial approach checklist. I just want to throw a question out here real quick for those of you who are actually paying attention at this point. I have the brightness for P3D turned down a little bit. I kind of tend to like the colors to be just a little bit darker, but it can be pretty dark. So I'm just curious how it looks to you guys. Is it too dark, or can you see well? Do I need to bring the brightness up? Let me know. Just curious on your thoughts on that. So anyway, all of that being said, we're probably 10 nautical miles from top of descent at this point. I'm not going to worry about hanging on here and yapping until it starts descending. It'll start descending automatically. However, we do need to take care of our approach briefing. So we're going to go ahead and take care of that right now. And then I will see you guys back on here when we're getting close to Shortfoot. Alright, taking a look at the approach briefing then. We're going to be taking the ILS runway 7 right approach. HOTAS for us is going to be on 128.2 with the approach frequency on 119.1. I don't know what the Hong Kong director is, but apparently we can reach him on 119.5, and then the tower on 118.4. Ground when we get down there would be 122.55, and of course we're not going to use any of those because we don't use ATC, since there's not a decent ATC program out there. Now I know what some of you are going to say, oh sure there is. No, there isn't, they suck. Okay, moving on, our ILS frequency is 109.3 with a final approach course of 73 degrees, intercepting the glide slope at 4 nautical miles from the localizer transmitter at 1,300 feet, and I don't think that really, that's just weird the way this whole thing is set up. So again, airport elevation is 28 feet, runway at touchdown zone is at 27 feet. Looking at our map view down here, all kinds of craziness going on. Remember, we're kind of coming in this way anyway. We're using SoCo as a waypoint, so we're going to come in from over here, hit SoCo, swing out around here, and then come in. And then they didn't even name their waypoints. It's like it was just too much effort for them. They just say, oh, you know what? It's 8.5 miles out. That's 8.3. That's 6. That's 5.3. That's 4, and that's 1. There you go. There's your waypoints. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And originally it shows us coming in here at 2,000, but for some reason they got this dotted line here, which is above the glide slope with a missed approach. I think that has to do with weather conditions. I think if the weather conditions don't permit you to go lower, I don't know. I'm not understanding why that is, because what we really need to do is come in here at 1,700 feet at the 8.3 marker, and when we get to 5.3, we should intercept the glide slope on the 73 degree radial, and down in we go. I don't know. Pappy lights should be on both sides of the runway. Let's take a look at what this missed approach is doing. If we do have to perform a missed approach, we're going to climb to 5,000 feet, remain on the 073 degree radial until we reach Porpa, then turn right onto the 182 degree radial, or I'm sorry, turn right. It says on to 182 degrees, but we're going to turn right to 182 degrees. And then forget about the parentheses for a minute. Intercept the 250 degree radial from the TD VOR, that's this guy out here, out to SOCO, then turn right to Limes and hold, or as directed. Make a note down here. It says do not turn before Porpa, and 210 knots until established at 182 degrees. Now, in parentheses it says without the TD VOR, so I don't know if that means if you just didn't tune it in because you were too lazy or what, then you would expect radar vectors. So it's pretty straightforward. You can see how it works. You're going to climb out here until you reach Porpa, up to 5,000, trying to get up to 5,000 feet, and then make a right-hand turn to 182 degrees until you can intercept this 250 degree radial from the TD VOR out to SOCO, and then over here to Limes, and then you would hold here. Of course, for us, we'll just go up and do it again. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and I don't think there's anything else to cover on this, so let's go fly it. Alright guys, you can see we're making our turn on our base leg here. We'll be turning on to final shortly. The sun is setting in the distance there, and it actually looks really nice in P3D version 4, doesn't it? Come through the clouds like that? That looks freaking awesome right there. I was having some issues with the panel lighting here. Couldn't seem to get things to work right, but they seem to be good now, so we're going to roll on with it. Let's take care of this initial approach checklist. The HOTAS has been obtained. Approach briefing has been accomplished. We do need to take care of our approach reference here. Hit the initial reference page. We're going to land full flaps at 141 knots, maybe, if it lets us. There we go. Click on that, and then click there and put it in there, and that's what we're looking for, 141 knots. So landing data has been taken care of. Decision height's been taken care of. Seatbelt selector is already on. ICUS recall, we need to check that. Click the recall over here. Looking good on that. Let's see, auto brake selector as required, wing lights as required, altimeters set, and they are at 29er and 9er1, and then flaps as required, which we're going to start bringing in our flaps right now. So, first setting of flaps coming in. And it automatically went to VNAV speed, which I really dislike that it does that. I wish it wouldn't. I wish it would stay on VNAV path. That's obviously preferable. But anyway, we got her set to flaps 5 now. And let's see what else here. We want to make sure that our nav radio shows the ILS 109.30. Fantastic. Go back to this page so we have that. So nav radio is good. Let's go ahead and bring this down a little bit so we can see a little better. We'll be starting our turn on to final here shortly. And let's go ahead and we can start bringing that speed down. Because it's on VNAV speed though, anytime I try to decrease speed, it's going to try and level off the aircraft, right? Now we can avoid that, of course, by taking control of the vertical speed ourselves, and then we can just decrease it right here. That's what we're going to do. Let's bring it down to 180. Let the force of the turn help slow it down a little bit. Let's go ahead and arm the localizer, and it grabbed it immediately. Immediately grabbed the localizer, so we can go ahead and hit the approach switch now, and then we're just waiting for it to grab that glide slope there. As soon as it grabs the glide slope, we'll go ahead and bring the gear down and go to the next flap setting. I tell you what, I picked up that thing from Toga. I forget what it's called, Envishade or something like that. That seems to be making things look a little bit better as well. So love the lighting coming across here with the sun in the background. Look at how it's cast in the shadows. Really cool stuff, guys. Really cool stuff. For those of you who don't know, this airport is man-made. This runway was made by the Chinese. They basically built an island out here. Although I got to be honest, I'm getting a little creeped out because we're supposed to be just about on short final here, and I don't see an airport anywhere. Do you? You guys see an airport anywhere? That's interesting. Wow. I mean, where's our airport at? Yeah. Well, let's let it grab the glide slope for a minute, but I have a feeling we'll be climbing out here and trying to... Oh, there it is. Now it looks like maybe it's coming in up there. Wow, I've got the scenery draw distance absolutely maximized, as far out as it'll go. And apparently that's not far enough. That's interesting. Okay, so we've got the runway in sight now. Looking good. Just waiting for it to grab that glide slope there. Once it grabs the glide slope, we'll go ahead and bring the gear down and lower the brightness there a little bit. There we go. And which one lowers this? This one here? Yeah, there we go. A little bit darker. Okay, runway's definitely in sight. Now that was kind of crazy there. I don't know why it took so long to load in. Maybe they just did a good job on this airport in here. Hard to say. Watching for that diamond to move there. Should start moving here shortly. We'll definitely be coming up on the glide slope. Still at 180 knots. Let's go ahead and bring that speed down a little bit more. Bring it down to 160. And let's go ahead and lower the landing gear. I'm not going to wait any longer for it. Landing gear is coming down. And next setting of flaps. There we go. Looking good there. And then 141 is our landing speed, so we want to be at 146. Gears down and locked. Let's go ahead and bring this down to 146 now so we can take care of this landing checklist. Because now that diamond's starting to move a little bit. Good. Alright, let's get those flaps all the way out. Flaps are coming down. Landing checklist. Flaps set. Gear is down and locked. Speed brake is armed. ILS, the localizer is captured. We're just waiting for the glide slope to capture, which should happen here momentarily. You can see it's just about on top of it. And throttles are set. We're going to leave it on auto throttle for a minute. Oh, do we have this crazy view thing going on again? We do. I didn't adjust that, did I? Okay. So I'm going to pause this real quick, guys. I know it's a strange place to do it, but you see the view right here has us looking like at the ground, right? And that's not where we're supposed to be looking, obviously, because the airplane's not really pointed at the ground. Let's let it go for a second to see what happens as it levels out, but that's a little ridiculous. We need to be able to see, obviously. So we probably should be a little closer to right there. That's a little bit better. And then I'm going to set that as my view on here for now. Track IR coming on, a little jump here. There we go. Okay, let's take the autopilot off. There we go. She always likes to nose over just a little bit when you take the autopilot off. I'm not sure why. Looking good. Auto throttles are still on. We'll take those off here in just a second.
1,000.
Sounds good. Auto throttle's coming off. There we go. Try and keep them about where they were. A little bit of a crosswind here, not too bad though.
Approaching 0, 7, right.
Looking good. Well, those lights look fantastic, don't they? See the waves lapping on the shore a little bit? You don't get that in FSX, do you?
500.
Got her just a skosh high there. No big deal. She'll come back down. Maybe.
400.
What, did the wind shift or what? Boy, it's going to drift into the right there.
300. 200.
Landing lights should illuminate the ground.
100.
There we go.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
There we go. That was pretty smooth. I'd say that was a pretty good landing there. I don't know what the landing rate was. We'll check it here in a minute. Let's go ahead and let her roll on down a little bit further. And while she's rolling down here, let me take a look at my ground chart and see where it is we're going. I don't know why I'm getting a little chop in there. That's a little obnoxious, to be honest with you. Maybe I gotta bring the settings down just a little bit. Let's see. Cargo's supposed to be up here on our right. So we should be able to take, what do we got here?
3,000 feet
Kilo 4.
remaining.
Yeah, look at that. That'll work, actually. Come on. Still going a little quick for that turn there. There we go. Let's get her off the runway here. It's kind of hard to see, isn't it? Alright. Let her coast to a nice easy stop here. Let's bring the taxi lights on. Maybe. Oh, they were already on. That's interesting. Like, all my lights wouldn't work, and then all of a sudden they all came on. It was kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. Okay, we got off on Kilo 4. We should be able to pull in right over here, actually. Oh, there's that stupid reverse thrust thing going on. No idea why it's doing that. Oh, what do we got here? You can't really see anything, can you? Looks like all the parking for cargo's back there, so I'm going to go ahead and taxi her over there, get her parked, and then I'll come back on here with you guys, and we'll wrap this full flight tutorial up. Alright, we got our parking space here. Let's go ahead and take care of our parking checklist. Parking brake is set. I took care of that first off. Let's go ahead and get that dome light on real quick, if I can find it. Dome. There we go. Now we'll be able to see a little bit better. We don't need to contact ATC. We were supposed to turn on the APU. We didn't actually do an after landing checklist, did we? Oops. All right, let me take care of the oh, this is a tutorial after all, right? After landing checklist. Transponder would go to standby, which is down here. Sometimes I forget that. All the way over. There we go, standby. A little cough coming up. There you go. Yeah, we're getting that insufficient fuel warning again. Fantastic. Anyway, transponder goes to standby. Taxiways that were noted, flaps up to 0, which they are. Speed brake off or disengage, which we did. Stop, give me, why is it giving me notifications? What's it telling me now? Auto throttle's off. Oh, fuel quantity low. Yeah, we're fine. Don't worry. Auto brakes off. We never used them for this one. Landing lights off. We did get them off, right? Yep, we got landing lights off. We left taxi lights on. We're supposed to turn those off as we pull in. Strobe light off. This was all supposed to be after landing, so my apologies for that. Note the landing time and then start the APU. And of course, we just started the APU, so we should be good on that. Let's turn the auto throttle back on so it stops giving us that stupid warning. Itchy nose there. Okay, and then that takes us to our parking position or our parking checklist. So parking brake is set. We don't need to contact ATC. We need to turn the APU generators on. 1 and 2, both of those are on now. Fantastic. APU bleed needs to go on. Jump back to this view here. So that's this one over here. There's the APU bleed there. Engine hydraulic pumps go off. That's these here, right? So wait, no, engine hydraulic pumps. These 4 here. These are the demands. These are the pumps. Fuel control switch is cut off. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maybe. There we go. Seatbelts off. There we go. Doors, we'll open those later. We don't need to worry about that. Beacon lights can go off at this point. Where's beacon? That one right there. There we go. Beacon lights are off. Ground power on if available. So let's go ahead and switch over to ground power now. Popped it. Well, we don't even need to pop it up, really. Just go right here. Simulation. Next page. Ground support. Ground power. Connect. Fantastic. Now we can hop up. Switch to external power 1, external power 2. That allows us to turn the APU off. So now the APU is off. Yaw dampers go off, 1 and 2. Hydraulic demand switches all go off. That's these 4 here, 2, 3, and 4. Continuous ignition off. We turned that off earlier. Auto start can go off as well. IRS systems 1 through 3 off. Left click them twice. There we go. Utility, left and right utility switches off. There we go. Fuel pumps all go off. And in reality, I mean, you're just turning everything off on here. So I can turn window heat off. Let's see, cross feeds are off, window heat is off, engine wing anti-ice is off, aft cargo heat is off, trim air is off, upper and lower recirc, gasper, those are all off. Let's see, packs 1 through 3 go off. Isolation valves, left and right, go off. Engine bleed switches should go off as well, right? Generator control switches off. That's these 4 here. I'm just going in order. TCAS is already on standby. We're not on APU anymore. At this point, ground power goes off, then all external lights off, then all internal lights off. So ground power off, and then external lights all off, and off. And then internal lights all go off, bus tie switches all go off, standby power selector goes off, and then battery. And I read all of those so that I can find them all. So internal lights all go off. So dome light off, turn that off, that off. Come on, we're not going to be able to see anything here in a second. You see that? Like, how are you supposed to do that? You're not going to be able to see. So let's go ahead and take care of the bus tie switches, these 4 here. Bus ties off, and then it goes standby power and then battery. So standby off, and then you can't even see it, but there's the battery right there. And as the sun sets in the background and casts a long shadow that you probably can't even hardly see because it's getting so dark, that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. That is your full flight tutorial for the iFLY 747. I hope that you enjoyed this one. I haven't done it yet. Obviously, hadn't done it yet. Should have done it a long time ago. Meant to do it a long time ago. It's a fun aircraft to fly. I don't know how much, if any, more in depth the PMDG 747 is. If somebody's familiar with both, please let me know down in the comments. I do hope to get it eventually, and when I do, then I will do a full flight tutorial on that one as well, if there are enough differences to justify doing a full flight tutorial on it. I'm sure there probably are, so that'll be fantastic. But other than that, if you haven't already done so, please smash the subscribe button. We're over 5,000. We're over 5,100 subscribers now. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you very much. Give the video a thumbs up. Makes it easier to find in this search. And, of course, tell all your friends about the Captain Mac channel and all of that good stuff. Don't forget you can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. And, of course, you can follow us on Twitch at Captain Mac 3588. We will get back to live streams eventually, but right now there's just not enough time for that. So it is what it is. But that's going to wrap it up, folks. As always, keep the blue side up, unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all, and have a fantastic day.